Hi everybody. Hope you're enjoying the school so far. Now's the time to think about the bigger projects that you're going to be involved in your groups. The groups for the rest of the session, which we will allocate wisely, trying to get a variety of different roles and experiences into each group. So it's not all people from exactly the same place, for example. So try to mix it up a little bit. So what are you going to do? Well, we've already touched upon a number of different activities which we want you to bring to this final project. In the world building session, we looked at a whole range of different technologies and ideas for engaging audiences with cultural heritage data. So we really want you to look back at that. We'd really like for you to reflect back on those and find from them things that might be useful for you. So we want you to create an engagement activity, drawing upon some of these ideas and practices, as well as your own experience, absolutely, and your own ideas and your own goals and requirements. We want you to define your audience. Who is this for? It's really important to identify that. Create a workshop plan. Consider the materials, the timings, the duration, the participant numbers, who, how, when and where this would ideally take place. We want you to create workshop materials such as what to do, tasks, recipes for doing things, and create a short presentation showing the development of this project and some form of testing and evaluation. How do you know it's going to work? Who's it for? How do you know they like it? Might be difficult if it's for kids, but maybe you can work out a creative way to still evaluate something. Tell us about your ethical, methodological and theoretical approaches, and you might want to draw back on those earlier modules that you've experienced. If you can achieve the same result with low fidelity, sustainable approaches, please do. There's no inherent virtue in using digital technologies or complexity just for the sake of it. So if you can do something with cardboard, do it. That's not a problem. We don't want you to use generative AI images or text in this project, unless your project specifically critically investigating some aspect of generative AI. We want to see work that's by you, not work that's derived, or even in some opinion, some of us believe that this kind of work is stolen. So we don't want to see that. We want to see what you can do. And it's not a competition for being an excellent photographer or drawer. It's about your ideas, your creativity, your intentions. So the only exception is work that's particularly critically exploring the meaning and form of generative AI images or text or even sounds. So we want you to refer back to the extensive toolkit and resources in the PDF, if you remember, for world building interactive games and places. That had a lot of ideas and pointed to other software, as well as tiny little tutorials which can get you going. We want you to think about ethical questions. What, as a group, are your understandings of the afterlife of this project and any data or other outputs your group creates? So, for example, if you come up with a really amazing idea, what would you feel like if one person in the group presented it as their own in the future, or used data sets that actually you don't want to be shared that might come from your work or research, for example? So have a discussion with your group about this right away. Is a really good idea. Clear the air. What can and cannot happen? What kind of permission would you seek from each other if someone was going to present this work? Of course, we want your work to be generative in the true sense of the word and lead to greater things, more ideas, and be useful to you in your work and research and whatever matters to you. But you need to be clear with your group how that might happen. Okay, have a brief discussion before you start about what the group thinks is acceptable on that front. Can a member of the group continue to this work without the rest of you, for example, or exhibit it, or present it, or claim it as their own work? What are your thoughts as a group? Can you agree to a set of principles about this group work? We also think it might be useful for you to look at Design Justice, Costanza Chock's book, but also a movement, a kind of an organization which has these dynamic, continuously growing ideas about what design is for. And this is a kind of a design project in many ways, or curatorial, you might define it, but in some ways I see it as design and curation. Experience design, for example. So who gets to benefit from design is a really important question. So evaluation, how will you know if your ideas are feasible, or what you've produced, maybe actions as well as ideas, processes, how do you know if they're feasible? Think about cultural probes, ways to test things with people and design those. You may not be able to realize them in this few short days, but it's a really good idea to think about how you might design cultural probes. Photo elicitation, ways to understand what the experience was like for researchers in particular. This is very valuable and interesting. Think about ways in which drawing might be used with participants to understand how they found the experience, what interested them, what didn't interest them, what was problematic, what was enjoyable. You can use forms as well and other means for getting feedback. Definitely engage with play testing, walkthroughs, some kind of construction of a pilot study might be useful. Think about data visualization, or indeed co-created, co-designed data visualization. So this will be presented on Friday. We think about 6 to 8 slides per group. Tell us what you did, who's the audience, the target group, the context, what kind of cultural heritage data, why you did this, how you did it, who did what in your group. We want every single person in the group to present. It's really important that you divide the time so everyone gets an equal time to talk about the project, to evaluate it, to tell us what they did and why, and with whom. Tell us any future plans or ideas for progression. So I hope that makes sense, this one. So if you scroll down, there's loads of examples, particularly like that ekphrasis example, I have to say. You would have heard loads of examples from many of the presenters for this school. And then here, don't forget, analog approaches are absolutely fine as well. You can still be addressing digital data as well as analog data, cultural heritage data. So here, Polycam, how to use Blender, pointers to really great tutorials. Twine for interactive narratives. I think there's a great space here to use cultural heritage data in this context for all sorts of different stories, non-fiction, fiction, blended, metafiction. So go through these, as well as thinking about game engines, and like Unity, or if you know Unreal Engine, use that. How to disseminate this on the web, for example, or as an executable. Thinking at Roblox, particularly for adults. I'm not encouraging this for children anymore because of the issues we discussed around moderation, but it's still a really good way to get adults in one space at the same time. So point us to tutorials here. Okay, so I hope that's useful. Good luck. Very much looking forward to seeing what you produce and the process that you engage with. Thank you.